Alright guys, so I've been fishing for the last week and I have not been catching anything. So what that tells me is I'm doing something wrong. But I've been using the same methods that have been working for me all summer. So if they've been working all summer and they're not working now, that tells me something is changing. And the thing that's changing is the weather. We're currently at that awkward phase where summer's ending, but the transition into fall hasn't really started yet. We just got hit with like the last couple heat waves. It's averaging out about 70 degrees every day. The trees and stuff haven't started changing yet, but they're going to soon. And that means that we need to begin to transition into fall time bass fishing. But we're not full-fledged fall fishing yet. We aren't into like the spook, jerk baits, spinner baits, whopper ploppers, buzz baits season yet. We aren't at the time of year yet, or in the time of fall where we just need to be throwing stuff that imitates bait fish. We're getting there, but we're not there. We're more so in the finesse era of fishing. And when I talk about finesse, I don't mean like downsizing to tiny minuscule lures and working them super slow. I more so mean like Carolina rig, Texas rig, Nico rig, drop shotting, stuff like that with some like cross soft plastics, creature baits, and worms, Senkos, stuff like that. So before we get into talking about this fishing period, we're gonna go hit up a store and we're gonna go buy some stuff, and then I'm gonna come back and we're gonna talk a little more about it, and then we're gonna go fishing after I give you guys some tips and tricks that'll help you catch fish in this time period. So here's a look at all of the fishing lures. Let's get into them. We did find the Yamamoto. We got them in a blue and black, as well as a green pumpkin with red flake. And finding the green pumpkin with red flake is a nightmare. I had to dig through the shelf for like 30 minutes every single time, because, and I'll sit there and I'll keep getting excited when I see like green/watermelon, but that's not the same thing. Next, we got some big old rage tail worms. I don't know, by Strike King. But these are more effective like in the summer when it's hot out, but this is just the first time I've seen them in a while, so I grabbed them. And they have coffee scent as well. Keeping up with the worms, we also got some Zoom green pumpkin with black flake watermelon seed. These are pretty nice. I just wanted something to switch it up from the Yamamoto's, try something else new. So yeah, we also got a pack in this color as well. Ooh, let's get into some terminal gear. So we got 5/0 and 4/0 bass hooks. I'm gonna be switching it up with both sizes, see what I like better. Here we got some weights for drop shotting. Some weights for Texas rigging. Some weights for Carolina rigging. Some drop shot hooks. I wanted size 1 or 1/0, but they only had these, so I'll get them, I guess. Oh, then we got some beads to not damage the weights. And we got some bobber stops for maximum control. Another reason why bobber stops are a good thing to have, whenever you're throwing Texas rigs and Carolina rigs, 9 times out of 10 when you get snagged, it's because the hook and the weight are separated, and then like the weight will go on one side of a rock and the hook will be on the other side, and then the next time you jerk it, it pulls together and it pinches the hook and the weight between the rock or under the rock or whatever, however it goes. And I would know from the time I spent living underwater with bass that that's how it works, so you should trust me on that. Staying on the worms, next we got these Yamamoto rainbow trout pattern worms. And we've got the Strike King sweet tater pie worms as well. We also got some smaller big bite bait worms in a bunch of different colors for when I got to downsize. These right here were the tubes I was looking for, but I couldn't find them, so I got one black and blue one left. Then we got some Lost Creek tube jigs, which are also really good, but I couldn't find them in black and blue, so I had to go with these 412 Bait Company. It's a local brand. Shout out to them. I got a bunch of stuff from them to test out. Next, from Zoom, we got a little curly tail grub the black, and a chartreuse. Moving on now to craw and creature baits. First off, from Fish Head Baits, another local company, we got a Junebug jigging craw and a pumpkin juice kicking craw. These both look pretty good. Hopefully I can catch some stuff on them. From Big Bite Baits, we got some crawfish. It's called this one's black and blue, called Flap Daddy 4-inch. And this one is a little gold and black, called Payday. And as a matter of fact, Flap Daddy 4-inch was actually my nickname in high school. But that's besides the point. Up next from Big Bite Baits, we've got this little black and red tube jig. And back to the 412 Bait Co. So this is called 41 Toads or 412 O's. It's a little frog, a little brown sparkly pattern. That looks pretty cool. This is one I'm really excited for. It's called Medusa. We got it in a bunch of colors. It's just like a super big creature bait. It comes in a bunch of different colors. Then from 412 Bait Co, we got a small jaw craw in a green pumpkin with some like purple and red flake in there. That's looking good. Boom, next from Yum, we've got a creature bait of some sorts here. Looking good, looking good. From Zoom, we got some little lizards slash helger mites in 2 different colors here. Actually, I lied. We got those in 4 colors. And lastly, from Zoom, we got the horny toad. And if you're wondering why they call it that, don't. But, you know, it's all in the name. They look pretty good. They actually look really good. They look really cool, I should say. They don't look all that good for bass, but they look really cool. That's why I got them. We have here a couple different colors of craw by Crush City. These ones I was just kind of experimenting with color-wise, the white ones. Here we've got a bunch of Ned rigs by Crush City, a bunch of different colors, as well as some peanut butter and jelly, and then green pumpkin goby, rattling Neds by Guggen. And then for when none of that works, I have this here 30-06 that I can kind of force the fish to bite this a little bit better than some lures. So we'll just keep that with our fishing gear. And then if absolutely nothing else works, we got some Cayman Jack margaritas and Jack Daniel's Cokes. That'll kind of speed up the process of me crying myself to sleep at night after catching nothing. So we're ready to go. Oh, also we got some 10-pound Berkley Trilene to throw onto my rod because we're running low on line. And also, I have now filled this up with lures that I like, but no longer have the original packaging for. So yeah, we're gonna pack all that up and get fishing. So, earlier when I was saying that fishing is changing, what am I talking about? Well, the water's changing. The bass know it, I know it, you know it, even your grandma knows it. Everybody knows. Whenever seasons change, the water changes and the fish's behavior changes. So specifically in the transition from summer to fall, what happens is the water flips. You'll hear that word tossed around a lot, but what in the world does that mean? You can kind of see it. You can see certain parts of the water getting muddier that usually aren't always muddy. You can see sometimes whenever you're bringing your lures in, especially if you're fishing on the bottom, they'll have like this nasty, yucky black coating, which is from vegetation that dies. I forget what it's called, but there's vegetation that dies. You'll see a lot of the big grassy beds, like where there's giant, tall seaweed or whatever. You'll see a lot of that will die and like mat down, and it'll turn super flat and matted down. And the biggest change in the water is the oxygen. A lot of people will say that oxygen is depleting in the water. You'll hear a lot of people say that, and what that means is that they're wrong. the oxygen is not depleting, it's being spread out more throughout the water. So during the summer, there's 3 different like levels or stages of water. There's one where there's all the oxygen or a lot of the oxygen, which is on the top of the water column. There's one with a little bit of oxygen, which is in the middle, and then there's one with like no oxygen at all, which is usually at the bottom. The bass can still go up and down throughout the levels, but they spend most of their time and they're the most active in the level with the most oxygen. And in the transition from summer to fall, that begins to spread out all throughout the water column. And so the bass are kind of trying to figure that out. They're exploring the water. They're trying to figure out where the oxygen is. That's why they look lost and confused, and they're just like moving around. You'll often see like little groups of like 4 or 5 of them here and there looking like they're lost, like they're trying to find home, because they are. They're trying to find the oxygen because it's changing. And that's also why you'll see a lot of bass moving independently. Like you'll catch one in one place and you'll stay and fish that place all day, and you won't catch another one at all day, because as an angler, like you often try to duplicate things or recreate things. Like if you catch a bass on one lure, you'll throw that lure for another hour until you catch the next fish. If you catch a bass in one spot, you'll stay in that spot thinking that's where all the fish are and just keep fishing there. But you cannot do that on the transition from summer to fall. You have to constantly be moving, and you have to be okay with, I caught one fish here on this lure, now I'm going to walk to the complete other side of the dam, or I'm going to walk 100 yards down the bank and get away from that spot. But one thing you have to look forward to is during the fall, they will go back to grouping up. All the bass from in the depths and out in the middle of the lake will come to the shallows and start feeding on bait fish, and you can catch 9-10 fish in one spot on the same exact lure, and you'll see them again in schools and in big groups. But for now, in the period towards the end of the summer, when stuff is changing, you don't want to be just burning your lures in. You don't want to be fast action in the dirt like you do in the fall. You want to be just trying as many different places, as many different spots as you can. You want to be throwing creature baits and worms and stuff like that in natural, realistic patterns, and just slowly twitching it, pausing, dragging, slow rolling on the bottom, letting your bait slow fall, slack lining and tight lining, hopping, shaking, slow swimming along the bottom. Techniques like that is what's going to catch you the bass. Some colors that work the best would be a green pumpkin, obviously, black, blue, plum, which is like a dark purplish, and brown, probably, I would say, are my most go-to. I don't do any fancy colors or anything that stands out too crazy during this transition from summer to fall. Texas rigs, Carolina rigs, Nico rigs, drop shots, that's what you're going to want to stick with for the most part, because while the bass are all lost and confused and trying to figure stuff out, they're also going to be a little bit shy, a little bit cautious. Whereas once we get into fall and they're kind of settled into where they're going to be staying, they're just going to be ambushing bait fish all day. So you could throw flashy stuff, you can throw anything that imitates or mimics a bait fish, and you're probably going to catch them. But this time between summer and fall, it's like the spawn's over. You're not going to get the aggressive bite. You're not going to get the just piss the bass off and they'll bite it. You're not going to get the make it look appetizing and they'll bite it. You're not going to get those. You're going to get the nervous, cautious bites is what you're going to get. So set the hook hard whenever you get a bite. You're going to want to fish like docks that are super deep in the water, not just like a 2-3 foot dock. I mean like a dock over like 10-15 feet of water. You're going to want to fish super deep, because a lot of that oxygen, whenever the dirt and stuff is stirring up, is going towards the bottom of the water. So you're going to want to fish super deep. You're going to want to fish your rocky bees. You're going to want to fish rocky bottoms, like the bluffs and stuff like that. That's where the bass are going to be holding and going to be feeding at for the most part. And that's why it's also good to throw like the Texas rigs and the Carolina rigs now, because whenever they're super deep, you got a lot of time of that lure dropping, which is what gets the bass's attention and gets them enticed and wanting to bite. You got a lot of free falling time there to try and entice a bite out of a bass. This phase usually comes after like the last heat wave of the year. Like, so when you get like a week that it's like 90 degrees, then you check the weather report, and the next 2 weeks it's like 70s. That's whenever this time frame would start, and I say it would stop around the time the weather gets in the 50s, 60s, whenever you can start wearing a sweatshirt around and pants to go fish. A lot of times you'll hear people say that the bass will strap on the bite bag during the fall because they're going to feed up and be trying to eat as much as possible before winter and going to sit down and not move all winter. And that is absolutely true, but you're not quite at that phase at the end of summer, beginning of fall. You're in that phase after the leaves start changing. You're in that phase when the bass start ambushing bait fish and bluegill and shad and stuff like that again. But that's not where we're at right now. In that phase, you can catch them on anything. Spooks, frogs, whopper ploppers, jigs, swim baits. You can catch them on just about anything in the fall phase. But you have to also understand and respect the build up to that phase. It's not just going to be a year-round thing. It's not just going to be as soon as the weather starts changing, they're going to be eating everything. You have to allow them to work their appetites up or build themselves up to that point, kind of. Another key sign that this is coming is when the watercolor starts changing. You know, certain spots start getting muddier and dust and dirt starts kicking up as the water is flipping, as people like to say. And you'll know this phase is over whenever the water is like crystal clear, like it looks like bottled water almost. Oh, another important thing is time of day that you're fishing. Low light periods are key. Whenever the sun is sitting horizontal from the water, whenever the sun is up in the sky, no good. Whenever the sun is down behind trees, good. So super early morning, late evenings, and even at nighttime whenever it's dark out are going to be the key times to get out and bass fish during this period. Prefer to hunt in low light shaded areas. So like another thing that could help is, say the sun sets on this side of the water and it gets down behind these trees or behind this hill here, and the section of water right in front of that is shaded a little bit earlier than everything else, then you can predict that the bass are going to be there earlier than the rest of the lake. And the opposite whenever it's rising. So that's how you can kind of help know which side of the lake to fish on and pick out a spot a little bit better. You're going to want to look for a lot of structure, you know, allow them to be the ambush predators that they are, where they're not as much as an ambush predator as a pike, but they do like ambush points. Night fishing can be super productive. The bigger bass are known to feed more in the dark, and it's going to be hard if you're fishing off the bank, but you can do it, and I'm going to show you that you can do it today. Well, not today, but tomorrow when I go fishing in the same video you're watching today. So just stay tuned. Don't lose faith in yourself, because a lot of people that I know will quit fishing around this point because they're like, all right, the bass bite's done, and they miss out on a lot of action in the fall, which, to be honest, you have the best chance of catching a big bass in the fall all year long, other than in pre-spawn. Pre-spawn is your best chance to catch a big fat bass and catch your personal best. But if you didn't then, or if you weren't satisfied with what you caught then, fall is your other chance to catch a big bass. And I don't know, it's probably just as likely that you'll catch your personal best in fall as it is pre-spawn, to be honest, because they are feeding just as heavily, I'd say. But yeah, I'll catch y'all whenever I'm at the lake. Before we get into any fishing though, we're gonna dig into this Taco Bell, and I'm gonna tell you right now, my little brother stole one of my Cinnabon bites. It was a 12-pack we were supposed to split, and they only gave me fucking 4, so I had to steal one of his. He's a bitch, bro. I know he took 2 of them. And there clearly aren't mountain lions in PA, because this is a bobcat print. You could tell by the way it's 1 to 2 inches and not 3 to 5 inches wide, because it was like 3 to 5 inches wide.
That would be a cougar, probably.
And plus, the Game Commission obviously says there's no mountain lions in PA, and it's like, why would they lie about that? They wouldn't lie about anything. And I don't know if it was a bobcat or what, but something just absolutely obliterated a bird over here. Like, it's all the way over there, all the way back in there. Trying to find the carcass, but I can't even find footprints anywhere to see what might have killed it. All right, I'm switching up to my confidence lure, the green and red Yamamoto. Probably shouldn't have threw the weight on, but it's gonna help me cast a little farther, so it'll be all right. Oh, heck yeah. Oh, heck yeah. Hold on, let me reel him in. Oh, heck yeah. Oh, heck yeah. Hey, he took my worm, though. That's crazy. He took my Senko. Guy took my Senko. What the heck, man? Oh, yeah. That's a nice bass. He's been caught a couple times before, too, because you could tell by the way he wasn't flopping around or nothing when I pulled the hook out. That's a nice bass. The only problem is releasing them and stuff like this. They always like to swim right back at the bank or up into the weeds and stuff, so. Just gotta kind of let him get his shit together here. See, this is the type of stuff we don't want happening. Gonna go with a slightly different worm. This one here by Zoom. Damn, there's another dead bird. I wish I had my test mount out here today. I just had a bass right there jump and spit my worm. And it almost smacked me in the mouth because I was still like pulling him. Okay, yes, I've got another. Chill out in that mud though, brother. He's flopping like a damn fish out of water or something, bro. All right. There. I was about to start throwing the horny toad, but then I realized that's not even finesse fishing. That's just a topwater, but still a good. So although the horny toad is a good soft plastic, I'm gonna be going with this little lizard here. I just come to the realization the reason that this print is big for a bobcat is probably because it's not a cat print at all. It's actually either a coyote or a dog. And who the fuck is out here walking barefoot? That's what I really want to know. I feel like that's more dangerous than all these coyote prints. Which that would also explain the dead bird feathers and the dead bird with a broken neck that I've seen. And why there's so many of them and it looks like there's more than one. Boom, we got another one already. That's a pretty nice one right there. They do just keep stealing my lures though. Another one. I want to throw one of these, but I also don't want to crack the seal on this. So I'm not going to. We're just going to throw a Ned rig on a bass hook because I didn't bring any jigs. Well, I think it's getting too late in the morning and the bass are done feeding. I'm packing up and I'm going home. I definitely could see how I mistake that for a bobcat print just by how like the toes are so wide, but they would be spread apart more and the heel pad would look different. But just look at all the different size dog prints are. So I'm led to believe that there's a small group of coyotes out here. Because there's just so many different dog prints. And it's in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere. Nobody's bringing their dogs out here. Before y'all even start hating on the damn Texas rigged fucking Ned rig, boom, I just sight fished this big guy with it. Literally sight fished him with it. That's actually a really nice bass as well. Really nice one with a little stomach on it too. I'm about to sink in this mud, so I gotta get him back. And with that, now I am leaving. Before I go, I want to give a quick shout out to God for presenting me with this awakening that I needed to start finesse fishing and allowing me to catch more bass by doing so. Appreciate y'all for sticking around watching to the end, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.